What's up? I'm here to teach you how to screen print like a boss here with the stuff that we have here in the Snell Building. There are a lot of different methods. You can watch other videos on YouTube and stuff, and you're going to find a lot of really good help with some different techniques and stuff. This is kind of the best way I have found to use equipment that we have available right now at the Snell. To get started, you're going to actually prepare the screen. So you need to get a screen. And right now we're going to use the DuraCap, which is the capillary film. It's the light sensitive film that we're going to use for setting the screen. You're going to need a squeegee and water. I would just clear out some stuff that's in here and just use this space. And then you're also going to need degreaser, which is, right now this is the bottle that we have of degreaser. So the first thing you do is you're actually just going to get the screen wet and kind of start prepping it. So I'm just going to get it right here. And then you're going to spray degreaser onto the screen. Just like 5 spray squirts, whatever, so it kind of covers all the screen, get a sponge. You're going to scrub it down and get it nice and clean. What the degreaser is doing is get any chemicals from previous prints or any dust that's gotten on it, or anything like that. You're just going to kind of let it sit on there for a little bit, and then you're going to spray it out. Water pressure in here is not that great. It's better in the other sink, but it will work for this part for sure. Just going to spray it out. Once you get that, you can kind of... So now my screen is ready to be able to put the emulsion on it. Like I said, we're going to be using the capillary film. This is light sensitive film. And so it's in this box, and we want to try to keep it away from light as much as possible. At this point, I would normally turn the lights off, and there's yellow lights here and here, and there's also one up here that if you plug it in, you'll have a darkroom environment. For the sake of filming, I'm going to do it with the light, and if you know what you're doing, you can get away with doing it in the light pretty quick, as long as you get into a light-safe environment relatively quickly after as well. So in order to set the film on, what you do is you're going to have the screen wet, and then you're going to get the film out, and there's going to be 2 sides of the film. There's going to be a glossy side and a flat side. The glossy side is basically the transparency that's on it. So once the screen's wet, and I'm going to get my screen a little wetter just so that it goes on there. What it does is this film reacts with the water to give it these light sensitive properties, and we don't want to really have it exposed to light before either, but you can get away with a little and you'll be okay. So I'll get that out. So I have these 2 sides. I have the shiny side and I have a glossy side. I'm going to lay it down on my screen. I'm just going to lay it onto there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my squeegee and I'm just going to squeegee across the screen. If it doesn't line up perfect, that's fine. It doesn't mean your print's going to be crooked at all. And then I have these air bubbles here that are coming in. So I'm going to just kind of slide across the back. See if I can get those out. And if I have to, I'll just get it wet again. Just spray a little bit of water back onto my screen and kind of try to get some of those air bubbles taken care of. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to squeeze the front side again. And once I've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put it in a trash bag for the darkroom environment, and I'm going to throw this piece of cardboard just on top here because I don't want the bag to touch my screen. I learned that the hard way, and I don't want you to. The bottom side is okay, but it's this top side that I don't want to touch. So I'm going to take it and I'll put it in this black trash bag. You want to do this pretty much as quick as you can. It's not the end of the world if it takes you a little bit to get it in. And then I'm going to just throw it in the shelf that's underneath here because no one messed with it, and then it'll be in a little bit darker of an environment. So that's how you're going to set up the screen. Now you're going to want to have it set for probably about 24 hours. Let it sit in the dark environment. the trash bag in this instance, and you'll be ready. And if you're going to do more than one print, you can prep 5 screens at a time. We don't have 5, but you can, so you can do all of this kind of all at once, and you can save them. As long as it stays in a dark environment, it will last a few weeks before you have to expose it and it goes bad. So if you're gonna do a print and you forget, and you prep the screen, and a week later, crap, I prepped it, and it's not, it'll still be good, which is important to understand. So now we're ready for the next step. We have our screen, the emulsion or that capillary film has been set, so we're ready to go ahead and prepare to expose it. Here at the Snell, we just have this lamp that you can attach onto the end of the press. That's just the press there. And with that, I would recommend just carrying this into the darkroom, so you're working in the darkroom environment. I'm just going to do that here because it's a little easier and I didn't feel like carrying it over. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your image, before all of this, you're going to have your image on a transparency. So I'll stand away. So you can kind of see I printed on the transparency. I made sure the transparency was okay to go through the printer. So that's all ready, so that I have this dark image. No matter what color of ink I'm going to use, I want to have that black image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this between my emulsion, the film, and the screen, and the light. And so that way when it's exposed, these parts aren't going to see light, so that emulsion's not going to be hardened. Because when that emulsion is exposed to light, it hardens so that it won't come off with water or anything. You have to use a special chemical to get it off. And so that's why we're keeping everything in the darkroom environment up until now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to expose it, and then I'm going to clean it off with water real quick. The exposure times vary, and so you're going to have to figure that out. And I'll actually tell you what a good time is. It's probably going to be about a minute. Is my best guess as to how long we're going to expose it for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and I'm going to place my transparency onto here. So this hasn't been exposed to light yet, and now it is being exposed to light. I'm going to place my transparency down, and I'm going to plug the light in. And I want to get as direct of light as I can onto my board, and then I'm going to just wait for 30 seconds, or a minute, or whatever. Alright, so once I've exposed it, this green film is actually going to start looking kind of this bluish color, and that's kind of a good sign that you know that it's been exposed long enough. And it is better to go over than under on the exposure, but you don't want to go too far over because then it's crispy and it'll actually just break off anyways. So there is that ideal moment, which I will have mentioned in the final video. I'm maybe experimenting a little bit right now. So then once you do that, then you're going to go ahead and you can take the light off of it, and then we're going to take it over to the sink and we're going to wash it out. Alright, I'm going to use this sink because it gets a little bit better water pressure. The technique's the same if you use the other one, you may not get as good a pressure. So you can kind of see already that my print is on there. It's super faint. You may not even be able to see it on the camera, I'm not sure. But there's a little transparency that I'm going to peel up that was on there. And that's just trash. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the print side, which is this main side. I'm going to get it wet and I'm going to just kind of rub it. I'm going to rub it down and rub where my image is. And it's going to start to lighten up where that image is. So now if I want to turn the pressure up, I can do that, and if I'm on this side, it'll start to kind of blow out that image. Alright, so I'm done exposing or cleaning out my emulsion, and so I've gotten some spots here. If you look up close, you can probably see some of these different spots where I got some underexposure. I can fix those with some tape so that the ink doesn't go through, but this is basically kind of what you get. Once you rub it down, You don't want to ever use too much water pressure because that'll create a lot of these. A lot of these happen when I turn the water on really hard. Like I said, I'm still learning these things, and every now and then you will have mistakes. If it was a really important run, I may redo it. For this, it's not that big of a deal, so I'm going to go ahead and use this, and it'll be a good opportunity for me to show how to fix stuff up. I didn't do it on purpose, I'll admit that, but it still is a good opportunity for me with the video. But yeah, so now it's ready. I just need to let this dry so that I can then tape it, and then I can throw my ink on and everything. Alright, now I'm going to take the screen, I'm going to have some tape. And right now we still have some screen printing tape. Masking tape will work, even packaging tape will work. I'm actually just going to cover up some of my holes. So you can see I have some spots where I need to have some tape to prevent the ink from going through. So I'm going to just cover them up. Alright, then I'm going to get the tape all the edges along here, and then just do a double check on some of these other spots, and I'll be ready. Once I have all of this set up, then I'm ready to get to do a print. So I'm going to take my design, and my print is going to come down onto here. I'm going to lay my shirt out on the platen. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to not tighten this all the way so that I can come down here and center the flag more or less the middle of the platen. And a lot of times you'll have guidelines to kind of help with that. Since I didn't make a very conscious effort to center it on my on the screen itself, I have to be a little bit more careful now. And then I'm ready to throw a shirt on. So I'm just going to use a red shirt, an extra one in case I mess up for this. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it on. I'm going to try to center the shirt onto the platen actually. And you typically want the print to land about 3 fingers underneath the collar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it down, and I'm going to see I'm way off on that. If I did it there, that's pretty close. Might be a little lower, which is totally fine. And then I'm going to make sure that my shirt is centered with my design. Just for one last check. If I have it on there, it's going to be pretty dang close. And if it's off, I'm not going to be upset for this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose the color of ink I want on it. I'm just going to use white because it matches the design. So I have white here. And I'm going to get a scooper, and I'm going to scoop it up onto the screen. So I have something, I'm going to use a popsicle stick actually. I'm going to throw some ink on here onto the screen, and then I'm going to get ready. I'm just going to squeegee it across. And this ink is water-based. What that means, if I'm doing a run of multiple prints, I'm going to run it across, and then I'm going to flood it. And I'll show you how to flood it. And so that way the ink will dry very quickly, and it's going to be able to air dry, which is really important. There's 2 kinds of inks, and for this, we're using water-based ink because to actually have the ink set, really it just needs to air dry. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get a heat gun and just kind of help speed up that drying process. But it's, once I print it, you just have to wait for the ink to dry and then you're set, really. So I have everything set up here. I should be good. Famous last words. Make sure again, that's going to be getting on the part of the shirt I want it on. So now I can open up my ink. Got some crusties on there. You want to be careful because any ink you get on your hands can get on anything else. Also, the white ink is a lot thicker, so it's a little more tricky to print. I'm just going to throw some on there. It's definitely more ink than I'm going to need for the run I'm doing. You can always add more if you need to, and I can actually salvage this ink too. So it's not the end of the world if I put too much on. But I'm going to go ahead and actually cap this to prevent my ink from drying. So to run the print, I'm going to my squeegee on here, and I'm just going to press down at almost 90, probably like a 80 degree angle. I'm going to run it across in the same direction at least 2 times. I might even go 3 with this white, depending on how I do it. You can kind of see and you go more. And then to flood the screen, I just take the little ink I have left. I'm just going to come across and fill that space in so that it's safe. And come up and see that I obviously didn't push hard enough on my first print. So that's kind of my test print. I can see where ink's coming through, where it's not. Take that off. And it really just needs to dry now. So to clean it, I got my soap. What little soap I have. And I was using some warm water and it's getting all the ink out. Kind of for me. Like I said, this is water-based ink, so you don't even really need soap. The biggest catch is if you let the ink dry in the screen, it'll stay in there and it'll get stuck in it. There are some chemicals we have, some screen opener to kind of help clean that out. But I don't think we're going to need that today. Now if you wanted, you could clean all the ink out and keep the stencil there. For this, I'm not going to run this print again ever. So I can clean it out a little more. Alright. Now once I've done that, I'm going to get my stencil remover. It's right here. It's this ER80. This is a concentrate of it that we can mix up to make more. I'm actually just going to spray my stencil down with this. And I usually spray both sides and I kind of let it sit for a little bit. Kind of get it to break up the stencil. So I need water. Do its work on the stencil. Clean my squeegee off here. Get the ink I can off of it. Let that dry. Start getting that emulsion off, and you want to keep going until it's all the way off. And I'm actually going to take it out to the higher pressure and do it. By the end, once you've sprayed enough remover and everything, you're going to get your screen to be clear again. Alright? And then it's ready for a new batch, and you can start the process all over. I hope this is a helpful video. I'm going to put together a PDF to go along with this, just for people to use it here at the Snell. And I'm also going to put a link to another guy who does a lot of really good videos, and they're kind of funny. He's kind of a dork, not a good dork. Cat's Pit YouTube videos. He does a lot of screen printing tutorials, so if you have a question about something else, he probably has an answer for it. And a lot of this is just learning by doing. So give it a shot, have fun with it. Mess up, you probably will. And it's a lot of fun for me. I really enjoy it. I don't usually work with water-based inks, so my shirts didn't turn out perfect, not even close, but with a little bit more practice I know I could work with water-based more, but it's all just practice and doing it. So I hope this helped.